Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds seems to have moved on from this character's story, despite setting her up to play a more significant role in Season 3. In its third season on Paramount+, Strange New Worlds has continued experimenting with genre and tone to deliver a variety of unique Star Trek stories. As the captain of the Starship Enterprise, Captain Christopher Pike could be seen as Strange New Worlds' main character, but the show embraces its ensemble cast, comprised of both new and classic Trek characters. As one of the new characters created for Strange New Worlds, LT, Erica Ortegas has become a bit of a fan favorite, but much about her remains unknown. LT Ortegas serves as the senior helmsman on the USS Enterprise, and she has made a name for herself as a skilled pilot who has expertly flown the ship during some tricky situations. Strange New Worlds didn't devote much time to Erica's story throughout its first two seasons, but Season 3 gave her a more significant story arc involving the Gorn. Despite this, the show seems to have moved on from this storyline without fully exploring Ortegas' trauma. In Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 3, Episode 1, LT, Ortegas helps her crew members escape from the Gorn by flying a Gorn vessel, but she's severely wounded and barely makes it back to the Enterprise alive. Erica remains shaken by this experience, and several Season 3 episodes check on her as she struggles with flashbacks and other PTSD-like symptoms. This is the most significant storyline Ortegas has gotten so far, but it's mostly dropped after Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 3, Episode 3, Shuttle to Kenfori. Erica became insubordinate in this episode, forcing Number 1 Rebecca Romian to temporarily relieve her from duty. Since returning to duty in the following episode, Ortegas seems to be doing better, but the show hasn't directly addressed her condition again. In Star Trek: Strange New Worlds Season 3, Episode 7, What is Starfleet? Beto Ortegas Minor Lucan asks his sister what Starfleet means to her as part of his documentary. She replies that Starfleet allows her to be in control, and she references her Gorn attack, admitting that she's still scared sometimes. Erica appears to have largely recovered from her ordeal, and it remains to be seen whether Strange New Worlds will address it further. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds has mostly moved on from the Gorn, as the Enterprise sent the aliens into hibernation in the Season 3 premiere. While the Gorn themselves have been put to bed, several characters continue to feel the ripple effects from the ship's encounter with the lizard-like aliens. Captain Marie Battelle Melanie Scrofano is well on her way to becoming a Gorn-human hybrid, and Erica continues to struggle with her own trauma from the Gorn attack. Both stories deserve proper conclusions, but Ortegas is one of Strange New Worlds' main characters, and yet she remains one of the least developed. Strange New Worlds has yet to fully explore the fallout from Erica's experience with the Gorn, and it's about time the show finally gives her the spotlight. I would love to learn more about Ortegas' past and see her confront her near-death experience, and I hope Star Trek: Strange New Worlds delivers an episode focused on her story. When Star Trek: Strange New Worlds burst onto the scene, it promised something that many longtime fans had been yearning for: a return to episodic storytelling while still weaving character-driven arcs that carried weight across the season. From Captain Pike's haunting knowledge of his future to Spock's emotional struggles between Vulcan logic and human passion, the show has consistently threaded personal stakes into its galactic adventures. Yet, as Season 3 unfolds, I can't help but feel an unease gnawing at me. What happened to Hemmer's legacy and the story of his replacement, Pelia? Hemmer's death at the end of Season 1 was one of the most emotional gut punches in modern Star Trek. He wasn't just another chief engineer. He embodied the gentle wisdom and quiet dignity of a mentor figure. His sacrifice to protect the crew cemented him as a character fans quickly grew attached to, despite limited screen time. Then, with Season 2, the writers introduced Pelia, a Lanthanite engineer who, at first glance, seemed designed to fill the hole Hemmer left behind. But by the end of that season, Pelia still felt underexplored, more quirk than character. And now, with Season 3 deep in its storytelling, the silence around both Hemmer and Pelia's arcs feels almost deafening. Hemmer's legacy, a story half told. When Hemmer died, it wasn't just about the loss of a friend for Uhura or a respected colleague for the crew. His death represented the kind of bittersweet sacrifice Star Trek has always been built upon. The recognition that serving in Starfleet carries risks, and that even those we love can be lost in the blink of an eye. But Hemmer's influence didn't end with his death. He was meant to be a spark in Uhura's journey, inspiring her to grow into the communications officer fans know from the original series. And to be fair, Season 2 did highlight Hemmer's lingering influence on Uhura, particularly when she faced self-doubt about her place on the Enterprise. Still, these moments often felt like background dressing rather than a meaningful continuation of Hemmer's story. The problem? Season 3 so far hasn't acknowledged him at all. No quiet reflection from Uhura, no engineering protocols or Hemmerisms referenced by other officers, not even a callback from Pelia, who was introduced as someone who could bridge the void left behind. It's almost as though the writers created a beautiful foundation with Hemmer's story, but didn't know how to follow through beyond his death. For a show so committed to character depth, that feels like a missed opportunity. Pelia, the unfinished character. When Carol Kane stepped into Strange New Worlds as Pelia, it felt like the series was making a bold choice. Here was a lanthanite, a species long-lived to the point of near immortality, with centuries of experience under her belt. Pelia's eccentric, whimsical approach to engineering was a sharp contrast to Hemmer's patient, almost monk-like wisdom. The clash of styles could have opened fascinating doors, not only for comedy, but for thematic exploration. Who better than Pelia to reflect on the fleeting lives of humans around her? Who better to serve as both comic relief and sobering mirror to the rest of the crew? Unfortunately, Pelia never fully crystallized in Season 2. Her quirks remained surface level, her backstory teased but never fully integrated. She often appeared in service of a scene's humor rather than being an emotional anchor. And now in Season 3, it almost feels like she's vanished. Pelia has been reduced to background status when she should have been the one to carry forward Hemmer's memory. Imagine the weight of her character reflecting on why she took over the Enterprise's engine room, not just because of her skill, but because she recognized the hole Hemmer left and wanted to honor it. That kind of motivation would tie her directly into the emotional fabric of the crew, giving her purpose beyond the quirky engineer. Why this matters? In a show like Strange New Worlds, where character arcs often carry equal weight to the sci-fi concepts, forgetting a story thread isn't just an oversight, it risks weakening the very heart of the narrative. Hemmer's sacrifice should not fade into background trivia, and Pelia's introduction should not be treated as an afterthought. These characters embody two sides of a coin, the finite and the infinite, the sacrifice of a short-lived Ener and the eternal presence of a lanthanite. To ignore their connection is to miss a profoundly Star Trek theme about mortality, legacy, and the passage of time. Fans have long memories. Just as people still debate Tasha Yar's death in The Next Generation, or lament the abrupt dismissal of Kes in Voyager, audiences notice when threads are dropped. Hemmer may not have been on screen for long, but his impact was significant. To let that story fade without closure risks making his sacrifice feel hollow. A way forward. It's not too late. Season 3 still has episodes left, and there are plenty of opportunities for the writers to course correct. Imagine an episode where Pelia finds herself confronted with a crisis that forces her to reckon with Hemmer's methods. Perhaps she discovers some of his personal notes, or Uhura reminds her of the kind of teacher Hemmer was. Maybe she realizes that her centuries of knowledge can sometimes blind her to the more grounded, human approaches Hemmer embodied. Such an episode would not only honor Hemmer, but also finally give Pelia the spotlight she deserves. It would let her step out of the shadow of being Hemmer's replacement and instead become her own character, while still tethered to his legacy. That is the kind of layered storytelling Strange New Worlds excels at when it remembers to lean into it. Conclusion. The risk of forgetting. As much as I adore Strange New Worlds, its optimism, its fresh take on classic Trek, its ability to balance humor and gravitas. I can't shake the worry that Hemmer's legacy and Pelia's potential are slipping through the cracks. If Season 3 doesn't address this, it risks leaving behind not just a forgotten character arc, but a piece of the show's emotional backbone. Star Trek has always been about more than warp drives and alien diplomacy. It's about people, their stories, and the way they inspire one another across time and space. Hemmer's story deserves more than silence, and Pelia deserves more than being a background oddity. Together, their arcs could say something profound about the brevity of life, the endurance of legacy, and the strange, wonderful bonds formed aboard the Enterprise. Until then, I remain hopeful, but worried that Strange New Worlds has let one of its most promising stories slip into the void. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.